Hi everyone and welcome to Bernitsa's Law Podcast. My name is Brouma and I'm sitting here with my colleague Kitsou to discuss recent developments focusing on natural disasters. As we have seen, especially during the last few years, climate change is not just about warmer summers or colder winters, but unfortunately it is also about more frequent and intense natural disasters like hurricanes, floods and wildfires. These events can cause significant damage to homes, businesses and communities, and this is why legislators are trying to cut losses by increasing the scope of mandatory insurance coverage against natural disasters. Now here's the thing, although we can't stop these disasters from happening, we could definitely prepare for them. That's where insurance comes in, and especially Law 5162 of 2024. Evi, what exactly is changing with this new law?
Hi Penny, and thanks for the introduction. Well, for starters, it is really expanding who is required to have natural disaster coverage. Initially, Law 5116 of 2024 required companies with an annual gross revenue of over 2 million euros to have a mandatory insurance coverage for certain types of natural disasters. Now, the new law lowers this threshold to include companies with an annual gross revenue of over 500,000 euros. So you can understand that this lower threshold practically means that small and medium-sized companies are now included. Another big change is that the new law requires vehicles to be insured against certain types of natural disaster as well. Both provisions come into effect on the 1st of June 2025, so companies and vehicle owners should prepare.
So this new law is about making sure more businesses are protected when disaster strikes. Which natural disasters trigger the insurance requirement, and what must the insurance cover?
For businesses, there are three types of natural disasters that they now must be insured for: forest fires, floods, and earthquakes. This includes privately owned buildings, equipment, raw materials and goods, commercial trucks and vehicles, means of production, and stored products. The insurance must cover at least 70% of the value of these assets. And there are also significant penalties to take into account.
Indeed, there are, and they can be pretty hefty. Failure to comply will result in an administrative fine of 10,000 euros. Then, if companies don't get insured within 30 days of receiving the fine, a second fine of 20,000 euros is imposed. Another crucial point is that uninsured companies are not eligible for state aid if a disaster strikes. That means that if their properties are damaged by forest fires, floods, and earthquakes, they won't receive any state assistance.
So not only do they risk a big fine, but they also lose out on financial support when they might need it the most. But what about individuals? We mentioned earlier that vehicles should be also covered for natural disasters. Would you like to tell us a bit more about that, Penny?
Yes, of course. Only private vehicles usually parked within Greece need to be insured for damages caused by natural disasters. The insurance amount is based on the current market value of the vehicle and is additional to any other insurance obligations under existing legislation. The insurance requirement kicks in as soon as the license and number plates of the vehicle are issued. This applies regardless of whether the vehicle is in use or it is parked. Again, if a vehicle is uninsured and gets damaged in a forest fire or flood, it won't be eligible for state aid.
Thank you, Penny. And thank you all for tuning in to today's episode on the latest legal developments for insurance on natural disasters. If you want to find out more about your legal obligations, get in touch with us directly or visit at bernitsaslaw.com for more information. Keep an eye out for our next episode.
This is Bernitsa's Law Podcast, your window to the latest legal developments in Greece. This podcast is intended to provide general information and is not meant to constitute a comprehensive analysis of the matters or to be relied upon as legal advice. It is not meant to create a lawyer-client relationship. Legal and other professional advice should be sought before applying any of the information in this podcast to a specific situation.